Hi, this is Dr. Earl with Solix. I'm excited to talk to you today about the powerful technology and science behind the AO-Scan Mobile. Now, if you will indulge me for just a second, let me introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I practiced emergency medicine for 16 years, and it was amazing because I got to see everything that medicine encompasses, from pregnant moms, newborn babies, all the way up to geriatrics, where we saw strokes and heart attacks, neurosurgery, the neurosciences, etc. And it was amazing. Well, I ended up getting sick, and frankly, Western medicine didn't have an answer for me. So I started looking elsewhere and came across amazing, true science that absolutely changes the game as far as health and medicine is concerned. And one of those is the AO-Scan Mobile in Solix. Well, I've formed several companies that have helped move medicine hopefully forward in a very powerful way. But I'm super excited about Solix and the technology and the amazing science behind it. Now, in a previous video, I talked briefly about the basic physics, the core science that really makes it so that the AO-Scan Mobile can read what's going on in your body. And if you'd like a little more information, I'll refer you to that. But just briefly, would you bear with me while I do a quick review? So, if we apply all of the agencies, all of the things that medicine involves, then we need to start looking outside of pharmaceuticals and surgeries. And the reality is, if you look at atoms and what makes up the core basis of life as we know it, there is a nucleus in the center, there are electrons outside, and then everything else in between is energy. And some will say empty space, but the reality is, when we really go about measuring that, they are energy and energy levels. Well, again, taking the atom and breaking it down, that means we are 2% solid, 2%. Well, that also means then that we are 98% energy. So if you start thinking about energy and the impact it has in our lives, it becomes amazing and powerful. It's the other 98% of what makes up life as we know it. And again, this isn't just me saying this, this is core basic science. Well, because of that, Tesla referred to the understanding of the universe as having an understanding of energy, vibration, and frequency. And he later added resonance. So energy, frequency, vibration, and resonance. Well, let's talk briefly about each of those. So there's a lot of different types of energy. There's everything from thermal energy, sound waves, and the list goes on. And you can see the list there. There's infrared, and again, amazing different types of energy. Well, everything has an energy frequency. Everything has an energy signature, would be the better way to put it. Because at the core, they've found that, again, this goes all the way down to the atom. Frequencies has to do with how that energy is expressed and how it comes out. And it is really amplitude over time. Now, that may not mean much to you, but it means a lot to us when we start to measure that energy. And lastly, energy has a frequency and a vibration, so that when energy is applied to certain substances, it gives off a very specific vibration because of the makeup. And a perfect example of this is the tuning fork. No matter what you strike a tuning fork against, it will give off a signature vibration and sound. And that sound comes with an energy, a frequency, and a vibration. Well, when you start asking again and referring again to the atom, that this goes all the way down to the core of life, atoms have a very specific energy. They have a very specific frequency. And did you know they also have a very specific vibration? Scientists just recently discovered that atoms actually give off a sound. That's amazing. And so everything has a signature energy, frequency, and vibration. And that's how we can measure what's going on inside of your body and compare it to normal. So, atoms become molecules, molecules become cells, cells become tissues, tissues to organs, organs are systems, organs and organisms, and away we go, and that's all of us. Each with our own separate energy, frequency, and vibration. Well, in medicine, we've been using energy, frequency, and vibration for years. This is an EKG, and it actually shows a different frequency and vibration and an energy signal that we use to read how the heart is performing. We've done this for decades. Additionally, we have magnetic resonance imagery, MRIs. We actually, now MRIs are amazing technology because we actually use a strong magnet to change the polarity of the cell, and then by pinging radio waves off it, we can tell what the resonance of that tissue is and then convert that into an image. Amazing. So, just a quick review. Everything has a signature blueprint, a signature energy, frequency, and vibration. And everything can be measured, quantified, and compared against normal. And that's what we do with the AOScan Mobile when we read what's going on or scan our bodies. Well, let's talk a little bit now about how we balance things out and what happens there, because we're going to discuss what happens with resonance. Now, if you look at this, it says resonance describes the phenomenon of increased amplitude that occurs when the frequency of a periodically amplified force is equal or close to a natural frequency of the system on which it acts. Now, that's hard for me even to say. So what does it really mean? It means that tuning fork A, if it's giving off its standard energy, frequency, and vibration, is close enough to impact tuning fork B, that tuning fork B will actually start to sing the way that tuning fork A is. So it has an impact. That's amazing. Well, we know this to be the case because we can actually stack waveforms by putting waveform A and waveform B together to make waveform C and amplify those waveforms and add them together. And this is actually what happens when a soprano sings at a certain octave. She actually sings in such a frequency and with such force that as the sound goes around the glass, eventually it builds and builds and builds and adds on top of itself until the glass shatters. Did you know we can also do the opposite? We can take two energy signatures and give the opposite signature and then cancel them out. And this is what noise canceling headphones are all about. It's amazing technology because it has energy, frequency, and vibration. And now we're using resonance, which is the power of that energy, frequency, and vibration to either augment or delete the other waveform. So let's go back to the MRI, because we know in an MRI that different tissues will respond to different resonance. That's the power of an MRI. So it takes those cells, polarizes them, and then pings radio waves off them, and based on the resonance, based on the near ping, if you will, the near energy that that tissue gives back, tells us what to put on the image for the MRI. We even use resonance in something called a gamma knife. So a gamma knife allows us to do procedures or to affect tissues with radiation and other energy sequences, and a deep level inside the brain or other tissues where it would be absolutely dangerous for us to perform that surgery. But by putting different waves at different locations and then having them coincide at a location very specific to the gamma knife, it produces resonance, increased frequency, and it actually works as a knife to help destroy that tissue that we don't want. Amazing technology. So again, medicine is already using what we have in the AOScan Mobile. This is just logic, physics, science applied in a brand new, exciting way. Now wait a second. Everything has energy, frequency, and vibration that can be measured, and then can be influenced by resonance. Is that what we're saying? Yes, that's what we're saying. And so when we start taking the AOScan Mobile and we start balancing things out, that's what we're doing, is we are reading what your body has going on inside, we're comparing it to normal, and then we use a like frequency to try to move that energy back towards normal. Amazing. So, it's no more complicated, it's no more simple, it's no more complex, it's no more amazing than just that. We measure it, we compare it to normal, and then we use that resonance to pull things back towards normal. Now, some patients and people ask, Why don't we just bring it all the way back to normal? Well, we found through, again, the scientists that did extensive research on this from the United States, Germany, Russia, Italy, and the list goes on, they found that if we push the tissues too fast back to normal instantly, the tissues actually can reject it, and it can actually cause damage. You may not come back to normal each and every time that fast, and that is a benefit. And that proves the scientific validity of what we're doing here, because we've gone deep enough to look at what makes a difference. And we want to pull you back gradually over time. That's why it's important to use your AO-Scan Mobile frequently and appropriately. This slide talks about life being redefined and that you're 99.999% empty space. But I want to actually focus on the fact that that's not the reality. The reality is we are 99.99 or 98%. And again, that just depends upon who's doing the measuring and the science. It's a pretty insignificant difference. We are that amount of energy.
I'm Dr. Pat Tucker. I'm a medical doctor with over 30 years of experience. What is AO-Scan? Well, AO-Scan is a very complex and complicated machine. It's based on quantum physics. It uses frequencies to check different parameters in your body. This is my cell phone. My cell phone is a very complex instrument. It uses airwaves to send voice, text, or data halfway around the world in seconds. I don't really understand it and don't understand how it works, but I know if I dial a 10-digit number in here, I'll only get the person that 10-digit number belongs to. It's very precise, it works, and I trust it. We've had lots of questions from people about whether optimization really works. Is it a treatment? What does it really do? Well, when we optimize with the AO-Scan, are we making a change in the parameters or items that are being scanned? The answer is yes. We are making a change. Does that change completely normalize those items that we are optimizing? And the answer is sometimes. And it depends on why the parameter is abnormal to start with and how abnormal it is. The scanner is going to show you week by week that you are making real and valuable changes in your body and in your life. The whole goal is to try to become healthy with every modality available and the best of the best. So if naturopathic medicine is the best way to go for something, that's what we should do. If chiropractic is the best way to go for something, that's what we should do. Hopefully this scanner can keep you healthy and keep you from getting to the point where you need to go to the ER with a gallstone attack or a heart attack or any other result of a chronic illness. We're trying to keep you healthy, and this device is going to help us dramatically. This is not like lab work. When you go to the doctor's office and you get blood work drawn, that can change from week to week. This information that you get from the AO scanner is going to give you information from day to day. Most of us can't afford to go to the doctor and get a whole $1,000 panel of blood work done every week, but with the AO scan, you get that, and it doesn't cost any more. Solex didn't create quantum physics. God did. Einstein, Tesla, and many other brilliant scientists began to understand and describe quantum physics, and Solex invented the AO scanner to use quantum physics and frequencies to help monitor living beings.
We're going to be talking about is something very leading edge. It's already been proven. It's based on research and science. It's been out there for quite a while and comes from names that are the holy grail names in science, like Einstein and Tesla. And we want to introduce this, explain this, and tell you about this. So let me give you a quick introduction. This is about the AO scan technology. AO scan technology by Solex is an elegant yet simply designed technology inspired by discoveries from Tesla, Einstein, and many other renowned scientists. It is designed to communicate with the body via subtle biofrequencies and electromagnetic signals. This is all about health, wellness, and quantum living. Solex has compiled a database of over 120,000 unique blueprint frequencies and developed a handheld technology that allows you to compare your personal frequencies with these blueprints to guide you toward homeostasis, the body's natural state of balance. I am so fascinated by the AO scan and the AO technology. As you know, my partner, Lisa Winston, had got into it, started using the scanning on herself, and then she just started using it on me, and I was just playing along. I didn't know what she was doing. I didn't know the company. I didn't know the scanning. I didn't know anything about Soltex. And I noticed that I started to feel better. I wasn't actually feeling bad, but I started to feel better and feel clearer. And then I started asking her about it. One thing leads to another, and you and I get on the phone and you tell me a little of the background. So we need to start at some place where everybody watching or listening can connect. What is your elevator speech when somebody says, what is the AO scanning technology, this AO scan technology by Solex? How do you answer that on your elevator ride to the third floor?
That's a good one. Okay, so it's really short. How do you know about yourself? How do you feel about yourself? When was the last time that you scanned yourself? And that generally is, what do you mean scan myself? I haven't scanned myself. And then I'll pull out my device and show them, well, here I can, within seconds, scan my emotions, scan my physical, scan my, all of this, and have it right in my palm of my hand. And not only that, it tells me what I'm not listening to in my body, things I need to change, things I need to, whether it's emotion or whatever.
I think the first thing that would come to mind for anybody, including me, is how in the world does it scan you? What is it scanning? How does it scan? And to do it in 1 to 2 minutes?
Yeah, so those are questions that I'll try to make it really simple, but obviously it's like an onion. The more you pull back, the more there is to learn. All we're doing, and really Einstein really nailed this down, everything in the world is frequency, everything, and everything has a vibration. And you've got to give credit to the Russian space program, because back in the late 80s, early 90s, they were working on being able to monitor the cosmonauts that were at the International Space Station. They'd be up there for 6 months at a time. You get a sore throat, you can't just go in and see the doctor. You're not feeling well. How do you do this? And they are the ones that catalog the first 119,000 specific frequencies in the human body. We now have over 170,000 of those frequencies. We've added another 50, 60,000 of those since then. But they're the ones that actually came up with this. And the way it was, it had two big transducers on the cosmonaut's head, and they would send by radio, from, 200 something miles to the space station. They would send that frequency up. The transducers would then apply that frequency to the head, and the brain would say, oh, that's the left ventricle of the heart, or it's the cornea of the right eye, or the meniscus of the left knee. And it would immediately give the vibrational rate of that particular item, send it right back. And then they would then compare, okay, here's what the normal frequency range is for that item, and here's where the cosmonauts was. It was either high or low. If it was high, they knew it was under stress. If it was low, they knew it was not being utilized. It wasn't functioning right. That's how this started. And they really were geniuses in how they did this. But, when we say, are you listening to yourself? Are you listening to your body? When the frequency went in, it was just an algorithmic frequency that went in, and the brain never recognized it and sent back an algorithmic frequency back. So that's how it's done. Now the question is, well, how did it know that particular cosmonaut, not the one sitting right next to him?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And it's the same with our cell phone. Joe, if you were in Timbuktu and I was in Beijing, China, and I called your cell phone, I put in your 11 digits, only your phone would ring, right?
Yeah.
Not the guy next to you, just your phone. Our bodies, when we enter somebody into the program, it creates a unique cell, body cell number that is unique to you. And the odds of there being two of those exact same frequency signatures are 1 in 3 trillion. It's not going to happen. So the frequency that we created for you, or you created for you when you entered your data into the app, was unique to you. So it doesn't matter where you are, space and time have nothing to do with it. We enter in that number, you are going to respond. And whatever signals we give to you, you will send back to where they came from. Now, it sounds a little bit like voodoo, but if you think about it, how do you turn in a radio station? How do we make a cell phone call? It's all really basic. We're sending a algorithmic frequency to a very specific target, and that target then responds right back to the sender. And that's how it works.
I'll tell you, that was actually an excellent explanation, especially with the cell phone and both of us being on other parts of the planet. But if you type in the right phone number and you win the lottery because I'll answer the phone.
I had a gentleman in Pittsburgh. This is going back 6 or 7 years. And I was at that time in Guangzhou, China. And he called me up and he says, I can't sing anymore. I can't even speak. There's something wrong with my throat. And this is a guy that sings with a very prominent group back in the 60s.
Wow.
And I said, well, let me try and do a scan on you. No headset, didn't have a device, wasn't hooked up to the app. But I'm at my computer and I typed in all that information, set up a frequency signature for him, did the scan. It came back within 10, 15 minutes that there was something at the back of his tongue. And all I knew was that it was under stress. I didn't know what it was. I just knew where it was and that it was under stress. I says, you need to go in and see your doctor. You need to go in and see what's going on. So the next day or the day after, he goes in and he sees his doctor. And sure enough, there was a benign tumor right at the back of his tongue at the beginning of his esophagus. And they were able to take care of it and he was fine. But he didn't know what it was. The doctor didn't even know where to look. But he walked in and says, it's the back of my tongue. The doctor looked and sure enough, there it was.
That is a fascinating story on several counts. At what point, if somebody gets readings repeatedly, like you may have hepatitis and it keeps showing up on a scan that's going on their body, can you optimize that out, or do you have to?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And to clarify, so when we scan, and you've mentioned it several times, we optimize. So we scan, it comes back and shows us where a frequency is out of balance. It's not where it should be. An optimization is sending that same frequency that came from the target, okay, that was out of balance, either high or low. We send that same frequency back, but 180 degrees out of phase, like noise canceling headphones. They take the noise that's out here, they play it back inside your ear cups, 180 degrees out of phase, and so they cancel. And so the Russians found that if we send that same frequency back, but out of phase, in other words, when the normal frequency is going up, the canceling is going down. And when they hit each other, they cancel. If after 3 sessions, 3 different scans and optimizations, that stays the same, that's a good indication you need to go see a medical practitioner, whether that's a naturopath or an MD or whatever it is. When we can't, when the frequencies don't balance it out, that's time to go see, a doctor.
Oh, Lord, that is incredibly insightful and powerful. Thank you for saying that. For me and for anybody else that would have that question on their mind. And I didn't know that. It's the rule of 3 at that point. The other thing, and this goes back to when you and I first met over the phone and you were telling me stories, one of the things you said is if we do the voice analysis, I don't have it in front of me, the inner voice, is it? And if we did that daily, that alone would be enough to bring us into quantum living and a more optimum place. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. I do my inner voice every morning and every night. I may not do a full scan or a vitals or a comprehensive every day, but I do my inner voice every day, morning and night. It takes a few minutes, takes 10 seconds to record my voice.
Yep.
And then I'll listen to the 12 minutes of music while I'm getting ready. And obviously, Joe, it's not the music that you're listening to that's doing it. It's the frequencies that are embedded behind the music that you can't even hear. They're way above our threshold of hearing. But when that happens, that's helping us put our emotions back in check. You show me somebody that has a physical ailment, and 9 times out of 10, there's an emotional anchor to that physical issue. Deal with the emotion, then the physical can heal. If we don't take care of the emotional issues, you're going to fight that physical issue over and over and over and over. Emotions are key. Our emotions are key.
And can we take care of them with the optimization, or do we have the old rule of 3? If it's still there, you need to go see a therapist.
Well, no. So here's the thing. On the emotions, our emotions are like the waves of an ocean. They're up and down all day long. You could get up in the morning happy as a lark, pull out of your driveway and back into your trash can, and all of a sudden your day just kind of took a turn. You got to get out of the car. You got to fix the car. Our emotions are always moving. People have said, "Oh, this is just placebo. Joe's just thinking he's feeling good because whatever." That's a valid statement, except if you're treating a horse or a dog or a cat, and we have veterinarians that are scanning horses, dogs, and cats every day, and they're finding out. There's no placebo effect in there. They don't know what the heck you're doing. You make that signature for them, you scan them, and sure enough, it comes right up. We've got one veterinarian in Texas that is able to determine when a horse is ovulating so that he knows exactly when to get the mare. This is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And this comes back. What was the intention of the vet to scan the horse? It wasn't just this. His intention was to find out what the situation of the horse was.
Just getting that. I love how we're peeling back everything. How accurate are these readings? Because there's scannings for the body, there's scannings for the emotions. We got the inner voice doing the scanning. In fact, we can't cover everything that the device does. This handheld technology and the app, there's too much there for you and I to talk about here. Yeah. But in general, how accurate is this?
Okay, let's take it in steps. The inner voice, we know, is near 100%. In fact, on some station in San Diego a month ago, there was a whole episode on how the government's about to spend $38 billion on this new voice analysis program that is going to be so amazing. And I wanted to pick up the phone and say, hey, I've already got it. It's already here. It's not 38 billion. But right? It is so powerful. It is more powerful and more accurate than a lie detector test. Wow. Now, when you go to the other sides, the vitals, which is looking at, blood chemistry and food sensitivities and nutritional stuff and all of that stuff, and the comprehensive, which is looking more at your physical structure, your muscles, your ligaments, and your organs. In the tests that we've been able to do side by side, so in other words, Joe, you came in, you sat down, we drew all your blood, caught your urine, sent it down to Quest Labs, and at the same time, we scanned you. So we did them at the same time, drew your blood, scanned you. Those results, when they have come back, have been about 85% in line with what the lab said. So a 15% plus or minus. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't sound so great until you realize that blood tests are only 50 to 55% accurate to begin with. So, wow. And that's by their own admission, not something I came with. So the other thing is your blood, if I drew your blood right now and then 15 minutes from now, I drew it again, and you sent it to the same lab, you'd swear it was two different people when the lab came back, because your chemistry is always in a state of flux. It's always moving. Some organs are resting, other organs are busy. So when we talk to people about scanning, we say, okay, if you're going to scan on a regular basis, make it the same time every day. So for me, I get up, I scan, I do my inner voice, and then on the days I do my other scans, it's always between 7 and 9 in the morning. And then again at night, generally around 8 or 10 at night or 8, between 8 and 10 at night, I'll do it again. But I do that every day because our body clock is always moving. And so if you scan in the morning and then the next day you scan in the afternoon, you're not getting the same biological response to that scan. And so if people are doing that, I say, okay, then for a week, scan every morning, every afternoon, and every evening, and do that for a week so that your system learns you. And that's the other thing about AO scan is a little bit of AI that's in it. It's learning how you respond to that stimulus, those frequencies added to you. And it generally takes 3 sessions, 3 scans before it really knows how Joe is going to respond when I put these frequencies in. The more you do it, the more fine-tuned that gets in. I'll give you one personal example that just happened an hour before we got on today. Someone very close to me, we were doing some scans, and there was something coming up in the lung. And all we know is that it was a 9, which means we know it's under stress. We don't know anything more than that. So this person went in and went in and had a CAT scan done with dye, and came back. There is a 1.2 centimeter tumor on the lung in the exact same spot the 9 was.
Wow.
So how accurate was that? I mean, that was spot on. So the point I'm trying to say is we need to learn how to listen to ourselves. Now, this individual knew there was an issue. They were having issues with breathing, getting winded, going up and down the stairs, doing all sorts of stuff. They didn't know what was going on.
And if you're doing it for somebody else that's in, I'm in Texas and this person's in Canada, maybe I can scan them, but can I optimize them?
Sure you can. If you scan them, you had a two-way connection. You send them a signal, they sent you back information. Okay. Optimization is going to work exactly the same. It's going to send those same frequencies back to them.
But they can't hear it. They don't have the headphones or...
Doesn't matter. What we're sending is way above the threshold of hearing anyway.
Can you give me and our listeners, viewers, a story or two? You've given several, especially from yourself and a friend of yours, of success. Maybe something that's dramatic, something that comes to mind. Somebody's used the AO scanner optimizer and there was a shift.
Yeah. We had a doctor met with us, and he says, I've got a real issue. My girlfriend went down and did a ayahuasca.
Yes.
And ever since that was 3 months earlier, she's been absolutely afraid of everything. Her own shadow, she's just under. Really? She did not have a great experience. Yeah. And she came out of that just absolutely paranoid about everything. And she was not with him when he was here telling us the story. And so we helped him set up, he had a picture of her, he helped her set up the profile in his device, and he scanned her remotely. He gets home, he's not told her a thing about it. He gets home and he says there was a calming effect. He says she was no way perfect, but she was definitely calming. So I walked over to her and I told her about the scanner. I says, it has this voice program. Will you let me do your voice? She spoke for the 10 seconds. She put the headphones on. She listened to all 12 minutes. She's back to normal after one inner voice session.
Wow.
Back to normal. That is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
There was an emotional something that was going on that needed to be put back into balance. That's all it was. We've had other people that have, people that have had a bad tooth. In fact, we just talked about this a few weeks ago. This lady was coming in to see her health practitioner up in Michigan, and she had moved down to Florida, so she wasn't there all the time, but she was up visiting, goes in to see the doctor, scans her and says, you've got something wrong with the number 20 or 31 molar. And she said, well, that's a crown. He said, well, I'm just telling you, there's something there. And I think that's why you're having all these issues with your thyroid and your breast and all this other stuff. She says, I think I'd go in and see a dentist and just have him check that. So she goes and sees a dentist that is not a normal dentist, because this isn't where she lives, but she goes and sees the dentist. They do an x-ray. The bottom of the root is the tip of a drill bit that had been left there 12 years previous from a dentist there. And she's been having all these health issues. So the dentist says, listen, I really think we need to pull that tooth, get that bit out because I think it's septic, gets it out, cleans it out, flushes it, puts in a new root canal. She comes back in to see Pam a couple days later and says, you've saved my life. I don't have any more of those issues. My breast doesn't have the tenderness, almost within hours. She says it was absolutely amazing. But it was the scanner that picked up the tooth. It didn't say there was a bit, just said there's an issue with this tooth. Go see the dentist. That kind of stuff is amazing to me.
It's truly amazing. That's truly amazing. Those are great stories.